Booty calls, friends with benefits. How do you maintain it in that state if that's all you want and keep enjoying it for what it is without falling in love? Hey guys, it's Mark here from Make Him Yours. I shall see you in just a second. Friends with benefits. So maybe you're with someone who you know isn't right for you and you don't want to find yourself falling in love. Or maybe you just want to keep things as they are for a while so that you can continue to enjoy yourself without having feelings for you or him getting involved. So how do you do that? Now, the first thing, before we get into the hows, I just want to chat a very quick little bit about science, because you need to understand the science as to why this happens before you go about monitoring what you do. You see, why is it some people fall in love with their booty calls in 2 weeks, some in 2 months, some in 2 years, and some never at all? It's all related to our brain chemicals. So the pathways of sex and the pathways of love run on 2 different chemicals. Sex runs on testosterone. That's true in both men and women. Love, on the other hand, runs on dopamine and to some extent serotonin. Now, dopamine controls the brain's reward and pleasure centers. Now, the interesting thing is, as dopamine levels go up, they drag testosterone levels up with them. In other words, when you fall in love with someone, you tend to want to have sex with them more. You'll also notice that people who are depressed generally have low sex drive, so lower dopamine levels, or leads to lower sex drive. And people who take dopamine supplements, as in antidepressants, tend to notice their sex drive increases as well. But does this happen the other way around? What do testosterone levels do to dopamine levels? Because if you're having sex, how does that affect your chances of falling in love? Well, the correlation between these two is much more complicated and much less direct. You see, it's not like you see bodybuilders who are walking around injecting steroids falling in love with partners everywhere. Increasing testosterone doesn't necessarily lead to falling in love. A vast array of experiences can lead to your dopamine levels increasing and you having more feelings for that person. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And so what I want you to think about is, how does what I do affect the amount of dopamine response I'm going to get for this person, from this person, and how does that affect how quickly I'm likely to have feelings for them? Now, to begin with, before you even get started, make sure you set the expectations with your booty calls, guys. Angry emotions, sad emotions, negative emotions from men who had feelings for you come from unmet expectations. So if he's expecting something that you don't want to deliver, then it's important you communicate and clarify that. Let him know after sex, maybe after the first time or after a few times for sure, that you're just looking for casual right now, you're not in a position to date. And that if he wants to keep doing this, you'd love to, but if not, that's okay too. So clarify the expectations before you do any of this. Now, the first thing that's going to affect your dopamine levels is 4 things. The first is how often you see him. It's real simple. The life of your booty call, how long you're going to maintain this with this guy, is going to be affected by how often you see him, because the amount of time, the amount of good feelings you get from him, from the dopamine, is directly relative to how often you see him. If you're seeing that guy 3 times a week, you're not a booty call at all. You're an unregistered girlfriend. If you're seeing the guy twice a week, that's not going to last that long either. You might get 2 to 4, 6 weeks out of it. If you're seeing the guy once a week, less again. If you're seeing him once a fortnight, you might be able to get 6 months out of that. If you're seeing him once a month or less, a lot longer again. So think about the frequency with which you see him when you want to control, I want to make sure I don't get feelings for this guy. Consider the frequency. Now, the second thing is whether or not you stay the night. So obviously, if you stay the night, not only are you staying there, you're getting more positive experiences, but you're cuddling, which releases oxytocin and vasopressin as well, particularly in men. These hormones lead to attachment, and they're going to lead to a shorter time span before one or both of you gets feelings. The third thing is time spent with him outside of the bedroom. So the more experiences you have together that become more like dates than actual sex is going to lead to you getting more good feelings for him and those dopamine levels relating to him much more quickly. The final thing, and this is probably the biggest factor, is, are you seeing other men? Because if you're not sleeping with other men, and especially if you're not seeing any other men, your brain only has one person to attach those dopamine fixes to. One reason I talk about multiple dating a lot, and that video's in the description if you want to have a watch up there as well. But one reason and one thing I talk about a lot is multiple dating, and one reason for it is that it balances these neurochemicals out and allows you to make better decisions in the partners you choose. You see, when your brain focuses in on one person, because that's the only person there, it's really easy to sell yourself on that person and forget their negative traits and put those rose-colored glasses on. Whereas when you're seeing other people, that's a lot less likely to happen. Instead of your dopamine levels going like this and you're wanting another hit, your dopamine levels are more like this and you're much more in control. So if you decide to sleep with other men, always safe sex, but if you decide to sleep with other men, that's gonna reduce the chances significantly of you getting feelings, and even dating other men is gonna reduce those chances a lot as well. So whatever you decide to do in that realm, obviously make sure that it's communicated to with him as well and he's aware of what's going on. But overall, those are the 4 factors that you really want to think about when you're thinking, how long do I want to extend this booty call? Do I want to make sure I don't get feelings? Or am I okay getting feelings? I'm okay this having a bit of a shorter lifespan and to just spend the night and have lunch with him a couple of times a week. You've got to decide this for yourself. You see, you could be a robot. You could never spend time with him outside of sex. You could never stay the night. You could see him once a month and you could sleep with lots of other guys and you'll probably never get feelings for that guy. But if you're like me, you probably also find that quite unsatisfying. It's not the best sex, right? So you've got to decide where on that spectrum you want to sit. You might say, look, I don't want to fall in love with him right now, but I'm going to see him a couple of times a week. If we start hanging out during the day, I can accept that. And I can also accept the fact that this might only last 3 to 6 months before we either stop seeing each other or become something more serious. You've got to make the call for you in terms of what you want. Just consider those 4 factors when you're thinking about, okay, this is just a booty call, do I want to keep it this way? So number 1, how often you see him. Number 2, do you spend time with him outside of sex? Number 3, do you stay the night? And number 4, are you going to keep seeing other people? Because all of these factors will affect your feelings and the amount of dopamine your brain attaches to him significantly. Well, that's how to maintain a booty call. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope that gave you some good food for thought in terms of where do you want to sit along the spectrum with your booty calls, and how much do you want to enjoy them as people versus how much do you just want to avoid falling in love. It's going to be different for everyone, but you now know the tools and the things you have to think about and why they relate to the lifespan of a booty call. Well, I really hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts. Give it a thumbs up, thoughts, comments below. As always, you guys are amazing the way you leave your comments, and I love you for it. So keep leaving them down there. Subscribe to the channel. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the bell so you get the notifications as well on new videos. And I'm going to have a new video out later in the week, so I shall see you then.